Normally I try to be all like funny and quippy to open up these videos, but how about we show off some sweet art today instead? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Maddie has asked us to play a spicy Plagon, Lord of the Beach deck. So, when Plagon enters, draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power. And, less importantly, target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power this turn. Plagon is one of those cards that a fair deck will really struggle to beat, as it resolving is often just a draw 3 cards attached to a body that all of a sudden turns things like Tamiyo into a real threat that affects your life total instead of just a real threat that is just drawing a bunch of cards and burying you that way. And Aphetto Alchemist happens to be a 1/2. Wizard. 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 And hence we are also going to be a Flame of Honor deck as well. So we've got a couple different angles to this deck. We can bury our opponent with cards via Tamiyo and Plagon. We can do the Hawkeye's bow combo, where the Aphetto Alchemist repeatedly untaps itself and then deals 1 damage each time it becomes tapped. So we have an infinite combo that way. We can just suit up a Tamiyo with a Hawkeye's bow and start pinging it that way when it just manually attacks as well. So we have this combo angle, we have this card advantage angle, and we technically have a Stoneforge Mystic package that does more than just tutor up Hawkeye's bow. We also have some removal here on sort of 2 different fronts. The Assimilation Aegis, which can exile up to 1 target creature until this equipment leaves the battlefield, and if you attach this, you can copy that creature as well. And Mjolnir, the Hammer of Thor. Now, the creatures in our deck are not worthy. A creature is worthy if it's a legendary non-villain that's red or white, which our Tamiyo and Plagon do not qualify for. So this is something we are tutoring up as a 4 damage removal spell to a creature that also can do something like be discarded to clear out a whole bunch of cap tokens or whatever from a deck like Boros Energy. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this deck once we get it into the games, as I think this is a well-constructed deck, but boy, Legacy is warped right now. The various Dimir decks, from the Dimir card deck to Dimir Doomsday to Dimir Tempo, are just really performing well as a whole. And having to deal with discard and counter spells and just getting 16 to the face at the same time, while often not knowing what deck you're playing against, so you don't know if you're more worried about a Murktide Regent or a Barogoyf or a Doomsday or a Fantasticar. It puts a lot of pressure on decks. And while a blue-white deck is doing well right now, it is the blue-white Felia Blink deck. And that deck has things like Stifles and Consigns that can fight over Fantasticar and Thassa's Oracle better than we can. So I am slightly worried that we're not going to have enough interaction for the unfair stuff. We are very well set up for fair matchups, though, with Flame of Honor and Plagon and Tamiyo all offering great sources of card advantage. So let's hop into some matches here. Folks, we're starting to get spoilers for multiple upcoming sets, the Star Trek stuff as well as the Hobbit stuff. And if you find you need any cards, please consider getting them from my sponsor, toamagic.com. And when you do, use my promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order while supporting my content. All right, let's battle. All right, I have a reasonable mix of lands and spells here. I'm willing to keep this one. Oh, are we just going to die now? No, we are not going to die now. Good. I don't remember how much I said between the intro and the deck tech, but Maddie asked for a shout out for trans rights, which is why I wanted to show off the art that I am going to be getting put on tokens. The art is now finished. The token back is finished, so I'm going to get those printed for Commander Sealed and start handing those out. And once I take care of that, I will make sure that the token art is like posted on my website or something so people can host them on their own if they want it. Presumably we're playing against Show and Tell here, and I have to decide whether or not I want to try to brainstorm now and potentially tap out for something like a Tamiyo, which I think I would be willing to do. Oh god, this hand is so bad. We'll keep some extra Plagons as things that I can potentially pitch to a Force of Will. But, like, the Ghost is clear. My opponent just gets to go for it. Intuition, Impulse, what are we doing? Prismari Charm. Surveil to draw a card with relatively good upside. Bounce a Fantasticar in response to its trigger. That sort of stuff. Well, Show and Tell is gonna resolve, unfortunately. I will put in a Plagon. My opponent will put in an Atraxa. I think I need to fetch another white source here. Just fetch another Tundra. I will draw my card, or if I happen to draw a counter spell, which I don't. And now with this trigger on the stack, I'm going to attempt to Swords this. Opponent just lets it resolve. All right, there's good stuff in there, unfortunately for me. Sneak Attack, Atraxa, Prismari Charm, Ancient Tomb, Lorien Revealed. I hate that you cannot see the card name of this card at the top. It's very frustrating in terms of UI. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, cool. Brainstorm is probably the best thing I can do with my mana here. There's also Flame of Honor, blow up a Lotus Petal, draw 2 cards, which might keep me from eating Sneak Attack immediately. I need to play towards the line where I do that, and then I happen to draw a Force of Will. Sure. Doesn't feel good, though. Because once that Sneak Attack is in play, it lives there, right? Because this exiles a creature. Yeah, so once Sneak Attack resolves, it's just there. Flame of Honor. That's a Force of Will. Look at that pitch. The Prismari Charm. Yeah, so now it's just Sneak Attack plus Activate immediately. And that may kill me this turn, depending on what this Atraxa fishes up. Lotus Petal, Emrakul. Yup. That'll do. My hand was too fair for my opponent. GG. You can now get a pile of Pyroblasts to help, and I can decide whether or not I'm interested in something that looks like this for Omniscience reasons. I think no. I think I'm just going heavier on counterspells. Mjolnir can go here. Pre-War Formalware can go here. Stoneforge still has 3 targets, so that's probably fine. And I can decide whether or not I want to do Swords to Plowshares. I might just need to do it because Hexing Squelcher is a thing that can shut off literally, 11 counterspells in my deck? How many Squelchers are they playing? Okay, it's like 3. Is this plenty? Like, is this just enough? Where I have 4 Flame of Honors and technically the Aegis? Hopefully that's enough. I don't mulligan that. The bow's not very good here. I think I'm just going to put it into play on turn 1 rather than Surveil. But it's close. How many Surveil lands do I have? 2. Let's just Surveil land. Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal. That is a stock up. Sure, doesn't feel good. I am worried about fighting over cards that look like this and then just not having gas afterwards. It's a different story once I have a Tamiyo or a Plagon or whatever. Hey, a Tamiyo or whatever. There's a Tamiyo. It looks like that's resolving, so I think I'm just gonna do this immediately. Oh yeah. Put back 1. I'll just redraw this next turn. 2. Tamiyo pluses immediately. I will have, if I want, hardcast Force of Negation and double pitch cast Force of Wills. Yeah, no. Force of Negation. Junk a Plagon. Alright, full on, just resolved. Now, I'll grab a Tundra. I think I'm comfortable just putting a win condition into play. I still have a counterspell. And can also Tamiyo minus and pick up Force of Negation immediately. That way I have 2. Falling Tarn comes down. Yeah, you can do normal cantrips, that's fine. And now Plagon can potentially bash in for 3 as I do other stuff. No. Force of Will. Pitch Brainstorm. Nice. Oh, awesome. I really would like to hardcast Force of Negation, but I maybe can't ignore just attacking for 3 when my opponent is using Ancient Tomb every turn. That is a flow state. That's not worth 2 cards. Yeah, you can flow state. Hexing Squelcher is annoying, though. Now everything that I'm doing just doesn't work. I kind of need a perfect brainstorm to get my way out of this immediately. That's not it. So put back 1 and 2. I think I am casting this as a creature. I was straight up considering morphing. In we go. After no blocks, I will make it so that I hit for 3. And all the Force of Wills, Force of Negations, and whatnot that I have just don't matter. There's Show and Tell. That's Sneak Attack. I'm probably just dead. Sneak Attack gets Atraxa, which finds Emrakul. Yeah. Counterspells be damned. Hexing Squelcher got us, and that was not even something that got us by surprise. I knew that was a possibility, and we just did not find a Flame of Honor to answer it. Maybe I needed more copies of Swords. But I looked at a lot of cards that game. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I love them. I have over 1,000 deck lists here. And I think the thing that I like the most about them is they're more than just a basic deck builder. If you need information about your next pre-release or where you can get cards, they have that sort of stuff here too. Whether you need to manage your collection or just a couple of decks, Moxfield does it all. So go check them out. Okay, opening hand has Cavernous Souls as the only land. Even if it wasn't, this is just not playable on the amount of mana that is here. This second hand is a little lacking, but hopefully we can make it do something. Opponent has mulligan to 5 cards. Polluted Delta Gamer confirmed. I think I'm most likely to want to surveil here. Or maybe more accurately, I will leave myself the option of surveilling, but also could brainstorm if I need to. Verdant Catacombs comes down. Maybe do a blue-white surveil land here. I could try to save the fetch for brainstorm immediately. Let's just get a little deeper than that. I also don't know if like an Orcish Bowmasters is just coming here, in which case I don't want the next brainstorm. Opponent surveils and keeps a card. Do I want to threaten to kill you next turn if I happen to draw Hawkeye Bow? Or do I just need more mana available to brainstorm because this is a combo deck like Doomsday or the Fantasticar? I think I'm going to cast a brainstorm, and I'm just going to do it now. Those cards are not fantastic. Probably put Plateau back in the deck, and I don't yet know how good this card is. I think I'm going to put... Wait, let's do this way. I will put a land on top of deck and leave myself the ability to draw that land if I want it. Although maybe for red mana purposes, I should have threaded this a little differently. Feels like Doomsday. Smells like Doomsday. In which case I have a Force of Negation. So this can let my opponent cast a Doomsday. And I hope that I win the fight over that Doomsday. Because if I don't win my fight over this, I don't really see myself winning. Because that cavern is already there. Yep. Thanks, I hate it. I'd like to continue to plug Doomsday as the deck that I believe is easily the best deck in the format, and you should be playing that until the Fantasticar gets itself banned. And it is indeed Fantasticar Doomsday, as is expected. So presumably, as long as my opponent produces a pile that plays Thassa's Oracle while their library is empty, they just win. I am not the Felia deck that just gains access to game 1 stifles and consigns. This is very funny, though. I can target my opponent to have them draw 2 cards. Alright, we've got an out. Very awkward if they decide to, Thoughtseize me first. Edge of Autumn. Street Wraith. Thassa's Oracle. Trigger on the stack. Well, I guess you have 2 cards in library right now, 0 cards in hand. So for this one, I just swords. And then I use Flame of Honor to finish my opponent off. Cavern. On Wizard. How about you draw 2 cards? And then they will die when they go to draw their card for turn. Ooh. Well, what did I say? If my opponent presented a pile that played Thassa's Oracle with 0 cards, I thought I was in trouble, and they didn't. So we just got to swords and then win. I guess if they went for it the other way and they don't have protection, I just get the win as well that way. GG's. So I can play High Noon for Fantastic-Art nonsense. So I want these. I think I am playing the High Noons, not that prismatic ending that came with it, and I'll think about Pyroblasts. This may be that I heavily go down on the Stoneforge Mystic stuff and just intend on largely winning by attacking with Plagon bodies. How do I get 3 more cards in here? Like, am I taking out swords? Probably. Also weird is the fact that I have to respect Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, as the alternative Doomsday thing, and Pyroblast is the thing that respects that. If I want to respect that, I need these in here too, which makes sideboarding any further a little tough. It may just be that I pull 2 of the Stoneforges, and I effectively have 3 copies of Hawkeye's bow, making the Aphetto Alchemist combo noticeably worse. Yeah, I am in for this. And I just hope that my opponent does not send it immediately, because if they do, I'm dead. Plagon the draw. Wizard. Uncounterable Tamiyo. But again, my opponent could just send 16 damage at my face immediately, or could cast Doomsday before I get the chance to do anything broken. I'm hoping they take the time to, like, Thought Seize me or whatever, which does indeed happen. Hopefully they can't then, like, Dark Ritual and go. Ah, the Dark Ritual and then go that I was afraid of. It is Barrogoyf. So, probably going to lose to that because we are trying to cover the Fantasticar and Thassa's Oracle and Jace at the same time. So we got worse at countering something else. I mean, that just kind of is what it is. So I will just play something that potentially lets me infinite combo if I happen to get the correct pieces from here, which will be hard to do because I've boarded down on Stoneforges to cover the other angles of my opponent's deck. Overall, a frustrating experience. The Dimir decks are so strong right now. Alright, my opponent has fully pivoted into creatures. Well, not fully. They still certainly have at least 1 combo. And I'm going to get Thought Seized. I'm going to let Barrogoyf go ahead and chonk on in. No creatures to bring back. This is going to keep getting bigger, though, which is problematic. Well, Plagon's about to be ancestral. That's the good news. I'll get my Tamiyo clue before I do that. Now, a potential problem here is that I haven't been giving my opponent things that they can target with counterspell. So if there is, say, a Force of Will here, and I do draw the Hawkeye's bow, because most of my stuff has been uncounterable via Cavern of Souls, my stuff will just get countered. I can use a couple of Brainstorms to dig and try to find the Hawkeye's bow. I'm just going to counter that Brainstorm. I don't want any more creatures coming down, and my Force of Negation misses a lot of other stuff. Both at Tamiyo? No. So Barrogoyf is going at face in an attempt to grow. If this is still keeping my Tamiyo around, I think I'm good. I could, like, chump block with a Plagon or something here. I think I'm just going to hope that they don't hit a creature. Alright, I potentially stopped them from getting a Force of Will into hand, though. So I guess that's good. Alright, Tamiyo plus. Do I want to play Tamiyo and then Brainstorm? I don't think so. Let's do this, try to find my combo finish. Negative. I did find Flame of Honor. I guess I am going bam bam. This is a 3/4. This deals 5. Nice. But I can't do it immediately. Less nice. Oh, Basic Plains and Cavernous Souls is gross. Alright, I'm upset. I guess I will redraw that Force of Negation I put on top, thinking that I wouldn't want to be using it. And I'll pass the turn here with Pyroblast available for a blue creature. And then hopefully I untap and Flame of Honor this while drawing 2 cards. I can't chump block Barrowgoyf or a creature goes to the graveyard. Maybe that means I'm supposed to try and squeeze 1 point of damage there. It doesn't really seem like damage is what this game is about right now. Alright, looks like this time they are both going at Tamiyo, which I think is fine. So, oh, actually my creature doesn't go to the graveyard because of Douthie. So I guess that's some upside here. Now I will fetch a land that lets me cast Flame of Honor. Let's do Thundering Falls. I don't need that land. Confirm, instant in graveyard, instant in graveyard. Target player draws 2 cards, 5 damage to target creature. Yeah. Red, blue, and 1. I don't get to back this up with my counter magic here. Whoo! Alright. Next, I think I'm into playing High Noon. Do like a Volk here. This way my opponent can't do a cantrip and something else. And now I am probably at the point where I am doing chip damage attacks with this. And I don't care about the more than 1 spell thing right now on my end. And this is not like Deafening Silence where they can like cast a cantrip and then do a creature afterwards. This is fine. And whenever I want, I can sacrifice High Noon to nuke Douthie if I don't find another way to kill a Douthie. Oh, hey, another way to kill a Douthie. 5 damage, draw 2 cards. Yeah. Red, blue. This is a little awkward if my opponent has exactly Force of Will because I can't back it up with Pyroblast. Let's hope they don't. They do. So now I'm probably using this mana for a clue token, but I can use it for Pyroblast on my opponent's turn, so I don't think I do Plagon stuff. In for 1. Again, I am not currently afraid of dying to the Douthie because of the High Noon that is in play. Eat 3 damage, go to 7. Opponent's chilling, which means I can cash in the clue. I can go ahead and play out a wizard and then use my white mana to activate on Plagon. I think 4 is enough. I'll leave open the other mana to hardcast Force of Negation. And then on my turn, I probably need to be thinking about just nuking High Noon to answer Douthie. Cool. It's an inefficient use of my resources, but with double Force of Negation, hopefully that's fine. And I want to do this while the Douthie is still tapped, so that the Douthie can't sacrifice itself. But luckily this enchantment does end up in exile. So I'm good versus the non-creature spells my opponent can play. Yeah, you can have Lotus Petal. Might be an indicator that there's another Force of Will on my opponent's side of the battlefield. I will cast a Ponder. All that stuff is kind of whatever. There's a Karakas. Now I have like Plagon, Karakas nonsense. Tamiyo in, Plagon in, Aphetto Alchemist in. Investigate. After no blocks. Plagon targets itself. I think that's all I'm doing. I think I will leave open the remainder of my mana. Opponent at 13. And I have Hardcast Flame of Honor available. I don't have Hardcast Flame of Honor and Pyroblast available. But you can't have it all, I suppose. If this is a Marktide, I'm good against that. I have multiple Pyroblasts. Getcha? Alright, that just resolves. Very nice. And at this point, I will just keep drawing. New Plagon. In we go. For no blocks. Plagon Punch. We'll do that on Tamiyo as well. Opponent takes 7 and is dead on board next turn. Sounds great. Because I have so many lands like Karakas and Cavernous Souls and Plains that don't contribute towards Flame of Honor, life's a little awkward. I think I just counter that. Yeah, I think I just counter that. All right. We do win the match here. I was worried because my opponent pivoted in a way that was good against me sideboarding out Swords to Plowshares, but I very, very narrowly threaded the window on making sure that Flame of Honor was able to remove the Barrowgoyf, and at that point, it was pretty easy to win the game from there. So GG's, we are 1-1. That was good proof of concept for this deck, just having overwhelming card advantage as the game goes on. I'm in an awkward position with this opening hand where I really hope Swords to Plowshares is good against my opponent's deck, because I'm perfectly fine if that is the case. And if Swords is not good, my hand is quite bad. I am debating whether or not I am brainstorming in response to this. I think I am. I do just wish I had Cauldra here to clock harder with this Stoneforge. Tamiyo feels like the best card in my hand. Although I can try to assemble my combo by hiding these two cards. Let's do that, but I still think it's potentially worth trying to save the Tamiyo as well. This buries the Stoneforge 2 down so that the Stoneforge shuffle doesn't cause me to get rid of anything else. And if Aphetto Alchemist is still here, I can consider playing it next turn over Tamiyo. And if it's not, oh darn, just play Tamiyo. Alright, opponent ultimately took a Swords to Plowshares, which I was not expecting. So they are on fair creature nonsense of some kind. Well, I don't know, maybe Aphetto Alchemist is not a scary enough card that you need to remove it on site. So do I play Aphetto Alchemist or Tamiyo is now the question. I'm a few turns away from this killing my opponent, but I think I'm okay just slotting this into play. If it eats removal and Tamiyo lives, cool. Are we Reanimator? We are Reanimator. Archon of Cruelty in the yard. There is a Dark Ritual, and Exhume happens. So goodbye, Alchemist. I need to resolve this. I'm hoping there's not a follow-up discard spell here that takes it. This is just expensive. I will get rid of my expensive card now. Please no follow-up discard spell. That's an unmask. That gets to take my Swords to Plowshares, and I know that the top card of my deck... Oh, you just have more discard? You've reanimated my Tamiyo? You're gonna let me Swords Archon? That's crazy. Archon kills me so quickly and continues to strip my hand. I don't know that I like that. I guess they are trying to play around me having a land to play Assimilation Aegis and take this out. Goodbye, Archon. We will see if this Tamiyo play gets rewarded. But, like, this turn, if my opponent took my swords, I would have gotten attack for 6, lost 3 more, discarded an additional card, and could not have played Stoneforge out as well. That's a series of pretty bad things for me. And I will ponder. I can get Force of Negation, which seems kind of mid. I can get the land to play this next turn and get rid of Tamiyo. I guess. I go bam, bam, bam. No shuffle. This lets me potentially Force of Negation something that is bad, and then get rid of my Tamiyo. There is the question of whether or not I just Force of Negation a Faithless Looting. Ugh, that is an Atraxa randomly to the yard, which is devastating. So now the answer is no, I do not Force of Negation Faithless Looting because I have to save it for whatever comes next. That is Reanimate. So I do get to stop that. Can you just go again? Oh no, you've got the clue. Sure. And a swamp comes down. Alright. Land drop. Stoneforge. Unfortunately, the Aegis is now gone, so I can't use that to get rid of Tamiyo. I can get Mjolnir, though. It'll be vulnerable to discard, but it looks like that's what I'm doing. The super awkward thing here is that my opponent can just transform this Tamiyo by flashing back Faithless Looting. And then Mjolnir doesn't do its thing anymore. They missed it, though, so that's great. Which means that I can kill Tamiyo via Mjolnir. Oh, they just get to do this instead. Rough. This feels like about the point where I lose. Alright, Badlands, Collective Brutality, Archon, Animate Dead, Lotus Petal. So Collective Brutality takes out both of my remaining cards here. No, it's instant or sorcery. Alright. So I now need Swords to Plowshares on this, and I can Mjolnir the Tamiyo. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not gonna do it. So I can take out Tamiyo. I get whacked for 6 by Atraxa. And if I kill this, it just comes back. I think I'm gonna tap out here. I think my opponent's got that one. GG. We've got ley lines. So let's presume that I need the ley lines and the additional copies of Force of Negation. I'm going to get rid of this despite the fact that we were just trying to use it to get rid of our own Tamiyo. The Stoneforge package is just the easiest thing to shave. 7 is just a lot of cards to bring in. I really dislike that Stoneforge just can't be a standalone win condition. Because we're trying to do the Aphetto Alchemist stuff, I don't just have Cauldra. And Cauldra being able to board out for Aphetto Alchemist to Hawkeye's bow here, and just still letting Stoneforge win on its own via Cauldra while being able to search up Assimilation Aegis as a blue card for Force of Will and Force of Negation would be huge. But I don't really get to do that here. I think I'm just going to get rid of swords. If my own stuff slips into play, Flame of Honor kills it. So I can do something that looks like that and get all of the other cards that I want in. And then we're hoping that my opponent has a spell-based sideboard in Brainstorm We Trust, and not a creature-based sideboard. It's more common right now for people to be on a spell-based sideboard than creature-based. But if my opponent is on, 4 Dalthy, 4 Barrowgoy, a couple Bowmasters or whatever, I could be in really bad shape. Whereas if, it's just Stronghold's Gambit, I A, have creatures for that, and B, have a ton of counter spells. Opponent's on 5. Leyline starts the game in play. I have 2 more counter spells. Don't want to beat the dead horse, but Stoneforge for Cauldra would be hot. Battle is fine. Opponent fetches. There's blue, which is usually an indicator of sideboard show and tells. You are going to Thoughtseize me. Resolves. I don't think I need to brainstorm in response there. Opponent can take the brainstorm and try to stick me on lands. I still get a surveil land and have a counterspell in the meantime. Go blue-white here with Meticulous Archive. Keep the land on top. Beautiful. So let's grab a Volk. Play a Stoneforge. I'm going to get the Aegis specifically because it is blue. The fact that it is removal is secondary here. All right, opponent just scoops it up there. Great. So now that I have confirmed that they have show and tells, I also, confirmed they have show and tells, I can be thinking about Pyroblast as well. I think I'm just going to consider that covered by 4 Force of Will, 4 Force of Negation. This hand does nothing. I will just automatically mulligan this one. I have no Leyline, I have no pitch counterspell. That is 2 strikes for me, whereas this hand is a banger. I'll get rid of Aphetto Alchemist, and everything else that is here is straight gasoline. Opponent mulliganing hyper aggressively here. Polluted Delta comes down, and opponent is passing the turn, which means that I can get a Tamiyo into play, and I don't think I need to do that uncounterably here. I'm just going to play the better land, and if at some point I can put Cavern of Souls back into my deck via Brainstorm, that might be fine. Opponent can attempt to surveil and find a new plan here. Well, they keep something on top. That's fine. Those cards are going to exile. I don't think that's worth my only counterspell here. I'll go into exile. Stronghold Gambit goes away, notably, which I can now cover via the Tamiyo that is in my hand. I think this is just make my clue and pass the turn. I think Tamiyo Clue Machine is better than Tamiyo Planeswalker right now. I don't know that I need to try to transform Tamiyo ASAP. There is Show and Tell. Force of Negation. Pitch a Tamiyo. Redraw another card. It is a Force of Will. Oh, that's nice. In we go. Play Cavern on Wizard. I'm going to crack this and then just ponder. No. Now I have Tamiyo Planeswalker available. And next turn, that can minus on Force of Negation if I so desire, and I have a Force of Will to get me through this turn. That one I do need to counter. I don't have a creature in my hand right now. Tamiyo minus on Force of Negation, and I think I will just pass the turn there. And if a Stronghold Gambit goes on the stack, I can Brainstorm to see if I find a creature to counter it that way. Otherwise, I have Force of Negation available. If my opponent doesn't do anything, I can brainstorm at end of turn. And so I will. Flame of Honor is okay. So we will go land back here. Fetch, grab Tundra. One mode is fine here. I will just draw 2 cards. All right, cool. So I plus drop a land, drop a Tamiyo creature, and I still have Hardcast Force of Negation available. That is a show and tell. No. Get out of here. My opponent can decide how much longer they want to keep playing. I think at the point where I have Leyline and both Tamiyos, the game is over. So I suspect this is another match win for this deck. Let's grab a Surveil land here. The Alchemist doesn't do anything fun right now. Opponent wants to reanimate a 1/2. They can. So in we go. Tamiyo makes a clue. I think I actually Tamiyo minus return Force of Negation, then Flame of Honor. Just draw 2 cards immediately. Red, blue, and 1. This then retransforms this Tamiyo. Healthy and fine play patterns for all. You may Dark Ritual. You may Dark Ritual. Yeah, this is not a problem. This doesn't have flash, right? Yeah. I guess I can brainstorm to see if I randomly spike a Force of Will. Brainstorm. I don't, but it's not a big deal. So put back 1, hide the only card that I care about on top, and then this can resolve. I thought there was going to be one more Dark Ritual, not another land drop. All right. Discard a land. Drop a land. 1, 2, 3. There's the Aegis. Junk that. Probably just pass turn there. Leave open the other Surveil land and Hardcast Force of Negation. Yeah. Archive. I don't need a Leyline. Okay, there is an Alchemist. I will go ahead and just cast that. And I will put this bow into play. Next turn I have a bunch of different ways to win. I can do the Hawkeye's bow combo, or I can just turn this thing into Archon of Cruelty and effectively win the game that way as well. All right, that was a relatively easy win there, although Tamiyo was the unhealthy strong thing that we were doing that very much carried, not the Aphetto Alchemist combo side of things. Although Assimilation Aegis, surprisingly relevant. GG's. All right, we're potentially playing against Dredge. I suspect that I want a counterspell in my opening hand. I do, in theory, have access to my combo, but I think I just want, Tamiyo Force of Will as the ideal, which this isn't, but is probably good enough to keep. I'm going to get rid of Plagon here. I'm going to put that into the deck to just draw later. As of right now, I'm pitching one of these 2 cards to a Force of Will. I think Surveil lands really have to do some work here, or my opponent's mulligan to 4 has to do some work. No. No, I am not going to let you discard your entire hand, Dredge Master. Not happening. If that hand had both LED and Faithless Looting, that was great. That's exactly what they need. Jesus. All right. Good Moldifor. Really good Moldifor. Yeah, that's... Fuck! Everything's bad. I will brainstorm and see if I can answer that. Nope. Ugh. Alright. Whatever happens from here happens. Good God, there's Anger. And there's Thassa's Oracle. So there is just raw combo potential here. So how do I win? Probably by comboing. I hope. I mean, I think I need to do this if my opponent, randomly has Daze in their deck or something. And that gets dazed, it's bad, but I think I need to clear the Mjolnir off the top of my deck. I've gotten kind of lucky here. So now let's brainstorm into Hawkeye's bow, get it equipped, and win. I'm just going to confirm, because I haven't actually done this. It's 1 mana, right? Yeah. Cavern doesn't cast the things that I need it to do. Brainstorm. Well, that gets me at next turn. Put back 1, 2? Yeah. Plains. Stoneforge. Say yes. There's a bow. I've got infinite damage next turn. I'm not going to attack. Let's see if we dodge yet again. That's not a starting creature. Wild. Like, there's Poxwalker's Cabal Therapy. Nice. That just absolutely wrecks me. I have the mana to just put this in uncounterably via Stoneforge. I'm just going to do that. Bow. Bow equip. And now we do this whole untap thing. And after a few clicks, my opponent concedes. We got incredibly lucky to not lose to my opponent's mulligan 2-4 there. Like, just being incredibly frank. Because as soon as they get one Narcomoeba, they have 1, 2 Cabal Therapies, multiple Bridge from Below's, Dread Return is there, Anger is there. Like, things are so bad for me. We got lucky. GG's. All right. So, this is obvious. This is obvious. Then there's things I can think about. I think Formalware is going to end up going. Mjolnir, in theory, does some stuff versus a zombie horde, and potentially could kill my own Aphetto, Alchemist, or Stoneforge Mystic to clear bridges. Swords does some stuff, but has some narrow windows for doing stuff. I have to board out a lot of cards here. So it may just be I aggressively take out non-blue cards and do something overall that looks like that. Opening up on Leyline would be super cool. Because it's probably something not my opponent is not expecting. It's like very atypical for the blue decks to run Leyline. Not impossible, but is not what I would be expecting here. This is a reasonable opener. I really, really, really want a Leyline opener here. I think I'm going to fish for the Leyline opener despite how good this is. I just think there's a decent chance that my opponent doesn't have outs to it. Ooh, and now I'm at the point where I decide whether or not I'm still committed to this plan. I think I'm committed to this plan. Fuck. I will keep 4 of these. I just think there's a decent chance that my opponent's best plan to play Magic is now hardcast things that cost 3 mana. Alright. Don't have the land. Not how I wanted this to go, obviously. Well, the good news is we found a land. The bad news is it's a land that does not cast Tamiyo. But, like, now I have Force of Negation. Yeah, you can have a Narcomoeba. Opponent says, go Narcomoeba. Indeed. I'll get Volk here so that I have access to all of my colors, and, like, I'm going to have a Tamiyo Planeswalker backed by Force of Negation, and Force of Negation protects my Leyline against whatever my opponent has. Yeah. Okay, so I was correct in my read where if I stuck Leyline this game, my opponent just would not have outs to it, like not anticipating the Leyline. And in game 3, if they win game 2 but see my Leyline along the way, it's kind of disastrous, right? So somehow we have 3 wins here, which feels crazy to me because I have felt like the deck has been a little clunky, but scoreboard is good. We're positive this league no matter what. GG's. Okay, my opponent just joined the match and disconnected almost immediately, and so I am, no matter what, a 4-1 record in this league. This is a very unsatisfying end to the video for me, so I'm going to try to just jump into the 2-player queue and find one more match to just round out this video, because I'm not sold on how I feel about this deck yet. All right, we have found an opponent. I left instructions to bring something cool to be in a YouTube video, so hopefully my opponent's got something neat. Basic Swamp. Ooh, this qualifies. I don't think I am countering that. Ooh, Archon hits the graveyard randomly. Thanks, I hate it. Do I Swords this so that my opponent can't, like, Cabal Therapy and go deeper? I think I'm going to leave open the mana rather than tap out for this before I have the bow. That's part of the tension, right? Like, leaving open, drawing cards for clue, casting brainstorms, casting swords is often just better than tapping out for this. Oh, gross. Oh, that's the right one, too. I will float a white. Gravecrawler is fine. And I will now rack my clue. Swords is a great card in a matchup that looks like this. I sure do need white mana. I am down to 19. I think I just hold Tamiyo back to soak up 2 damage per turn until I draw my way out of this. Oh, we are getting bodied. Yeah, you can still attack with both, and I will end up taking 1 from the Stitcher's Supplier. Seems good. Okay. That's almost amazing. Minus the portion where I can't do anything with these cards. 3 or less. I might discard a Plagon, so that if I ever get this into graveyard, it's just Plagon immediately. No, let's do Aphetto Alchemist by that logic. I think either one of those just ends up getting pitched to Force of Will the next time my opponent plays a reasonable looking card. Bloodstained Mire comes down. That's not a very good card. I'm gonna let that resolve. It's like very awkward to not use Force of Will while I'm actively discarding, but this is chilling in the graveyard. And I have like very much a preferred way to be using my Force of Will. Whoo, buddy. I think it is still possible to win this. Doesn't mean it's pretty, but I think it is possible. 1 more Wasteland is probably lights out, though. I'm down to 14. Opponent is just chilling. All right, that's a land. Do I just need to brainstorm directly into Orcish Bowmasters? Probably. In we go. Tamiyo makes the clue. Brainstorm? Oh, hot damn, it's not Orcish Bowmasters. It sure also isn't any white mana. I will put back Swords. Tamiyo pluses, now preventing 1, 2, 3 damage instead of preventing 2. I will have to do something to further stabilize the board. And the current hope is that this is Onder into White Source, start exiling creatures. Opponent keeps a card on top. The scary thing would... Alright, yeah. That happens. That's the 3rd Wasteland. Opponent did have Ghost Quarters too, by the way. Like we saw that from the initial mulling. There could be Smallpox in here as well. Everybody gets small. Tamiyo is only taking 2 though, and Tamiyo pluses for 2, so I'm currently okay. Opponent's got a bunch of stuff in hand that they are not using though. So I wonder what that means. I will say no to Swords. Like, as great of a card as that is, I need to get to more mana. I largely feel like I am extremely lucky to be alive on turn 7, having missed a land drop 3 or 4 times. I don't remember exactly. We've got Urborg, which makes sense if you're running a bunch of colorless lands and things that look like Bloodghast or Smallpox. I'm very worried that I end up countering something that is good enough to counter, and then my opponent just casts the card Reanimate, and it all falls apart. 4 mana. Ho, that's what we're doing. All right, I need to reread this. Beginning of your end step, if you sacrificed a permanent this turn, make a token that's a copy of this vehicle. This doesn't do anything right now. Although I guess the crew, it just being a 4/4, is problematic enough. I might just need to counter that, despite the fact that it doesn't do anything in the first turn cycle here. All right. Pitch an expensive card. And then the same thing will happen as before, where Tamiyo will go back down to her previous loyalty. And then I will just retick her back up to 4. That's white mana. All right, we're in business. Tamiyo plus, since that's always happening. Then I think I will ponder. I'd like to find a Force of Will. Nice. Go Stoneforge, then Cavern, then Force of Will, and pass turn. I have a Cavern on top of my deck that I can draw. Reanimate on Archon. I think I'm just going to nope that rather than let that resolve and then lose my Tamiyo. Force of Will, pitch Plagon. I'm glad that I looked for that other force. And again, if I let it resolve, I lose Tamiyo and probably Brainstorm, and then I swords it and I sword something else. So I will lose Brainstorm Tamiyo, and my opponent gets to draw a card. Their life total will effectively be the same. Oh, wait, hold on. It's targeting Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, that can just resolve. I wonder if that was an error. All right. There's Tundra. That resolves. Opponent goes face rather than at Tamiyo. Bloodghast has haste moving forward. These things shrink. Everything's going at Tamiyo. I think I just let it connect. I think I'm using my first Swords to Plowshares on Bowmasters. Yeah. Then Tamiyo plus. I'm fine. Brainstorming now. I have swords if there is yet another one of these. Let's go you back, you on top. Land drop past turn. It's turn 9. Airship again? Airship again. All right, well now it's resolving. And I will have to blow it up with the Flame of Honor that's currently on top of my deck. Doesn't have haste. Right, I'm not crazy? No haste? Yeah, no haste. So Tamiyo shrinks these. And I think I might be at the point where, for curve reasons, I just go ahead and fire these off on one of these. I think I'm going to do the thing that just has haste. Tamiyo can take 1, and then Flame of Honor, and take this out after my opponent crews it. Just destroy target artifact as the only mode on it. That seems fine. And I'll just not fetch here and use this with Urborg mana. Well, that's another one. All right. This is going to be a slog. Hopefully it is a slog that I can just ride out a Tamiyo through. My opponent has not crewed this. All right, so Tamiyo is just going to take 1 here. I'm going to say that that's fine. I imagine I still need to get rid of these. Luckily, my opponent did not sacrifice a permanent this turn, so I don't have to worry about it making a copy. Now, if I let this Tamiyo go, I can Tamiyo minus pick up Flame of Honor. I can also try to get a little greedier and Brainstorm first. I'm going to get a little greedier and Brainstorm first. All right, the Brainstorm was kind of whatever. I think I'm just putting these 2 back, dropping a land, fetching to clear. Oh, wow, I have very few lands remaining in deck. That is not something that had occurred to me. I think I will just Tamiyo minus, pick up the Flame of Honor, and then pass turn, and then hope to deal with Phoenix Fleet Airship via the Flame of Honor, and then restabilize the board with Plagon. Oh, it is a Phyrexian tower. Well, looks like I did this all just kind of right in time then. All right, well, take out Phoenix Fleet Airship. But now I'm going to lose the Plagon and this Tamiyo, so I will be down to a clue token versus whatever nonsense my opponent can do. Thought we were stabilizing. That's pretty good. It really says something about Tamiyo that I missed land. That's just some missed damage. There's not a Tamiyo plus here anymore. Anyway, it really says something about Tamiyo that, like, I could miss a land drop that many times and still, like, be live here. What land am I using to crack Clue? Because I think I crack Clue first. This. Leave open swords. It's Plagon. Plagon is totally reasonable here. I do need to dodge my opponent drawing something like Archon of Cruelty, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. Okay, we're not quite to Archon of Cruelty. But opponent's not far off. Airship? No. Too much mana for Airship. What is 5? What is 6? You're gonna Grave Titan me? Oh, there's Beseech in here. Beseech for Phoenix Fleet Airship is spicy. You're gonna Meat Hook Massacre me? What is happening? What other black X spells are there? Black Sun Zenith? Bloodghast, which will have haste. Alright, I don't know what was going on there. My opponent can force some damage this turn, which is like perfectly fine and good. But then I am going to have a transformed Tamiyo again. Alright, Caracas is totally reasonable as a draw. So I've drawn 1 for turn. Plagon will draw me 2 cards. So that will be enough to transform Tamiyo into the Planeswalker again. So deploy land. 1, 2, 3. Draw 2. Transform Tamiyo. Cards that are in my hand are not particularly good, but they have power and toughness, and that might just be enough right now. I think playing this out is legitimately better than cracking a clue and hoping to draw exactly Force of Will, which I have 2 copies of remaining in my deck. Duress misses Plagon. Another lucky break on our end. Oh, are we stable? Alright, it looks like opponent is going to give up some bodies to push individual points of damage. All of that going at Tamiyo. Kill the Orc since it doesn't come back. That sounds reasonable to me. Alright, there is a Ponder. I think I'm good Tamiyo plussing here. I will cast Ponder. Oh, sick. Bam, bam, bam. No shuffle. Stoneforge Mystic. Yes. Hawkeye's Bow. Red mana. Hawkeye's Bow. Equipped to the Alchemist. This is, in theory, a kill. I don't believe that we crawled back from that. I think that was A, lucky on our end. B, I think my opponent had some missteps. So, for example, if they target Archon of Cruelty with their reanimation spell instead of Orcish Bowmasters, it's very possible that I am just dead on the spot. So I don't know if that was a misclick or just an error, but that would have been bad for me. My opponent has conceded the full match there after losing that one, and at this point, I think I am happy enough with this deck's performance that we can call it here for the video. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Much better than I expected. As it turns out, in a combo-heavy metagame, Tamiyo plus Plagon plus 8 force effects can take you very, very far. The Alchemist did not really have synergy with the rest of the deck. Like, it's just Hawkeye's Bow that it has synergy with. Otherwise, the Alchemist was just a 1-2 blocker that pitched to the 8 force effects. So there are other Aphetto Alchemist combos, like with Mesmeric Orb. We saw an opponent a week or 2 back try that out. I think I am on board with Tamiyo Stoneforge Plagon from this. I don't know if Aphetto Alchemist is amazing. Maybe there's other wizards we can play for Flame of Honor purposes that also can be synergistic with Plagon. If I was going to play this deck again, I think if I played Mjolnir, I would put it in the sideboard. Like, it's kind of cute as a Stoneforgeable board wipe, but when I think about the top decks of Legacy right now, they're all Dimir, and I would rather just have Kaldra or Batterskull or something like that in game 1 to have a win condition that I can fetch up of Stoneforge. I legitimately think if you made that one change, the deck gets noticeably better. Mana was pretty good overall. It has 21 lands, which feels important because you do want to hit 3 on curve like every single game. Cavern and Plains and Karakas not contributing towards Flame of Honor was a little awkward if we drew multiple of those exact lands. And occasionally there were some situations where I had to like very actively think about my mana to make sure that I could cast my spells. But overall, this was solid. It didn't come up. Flame of Honor being something that you can cast at instant speed to destroy a resolved Fantasticar is definitely a thing. We saw that same sort of play pattern with Phoenix Fleet Airship in the last round, though. Overall, I think this is working a little bit harder than, say, the blue-white Felia Blink Quantum Riddler deck, but it's not working that much harder. So, Maddie, I think this was a pretty good brew. And shout out to Leyline of the Void for hard carrying a win against Dredge for me when that was not anticipated. And High Noon was relevant as something that was both a removal spell and an anti-combo tool at the same time versus Doomsday. I think it was Doomsday. Whatever boarded into Douthies. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day here. I've got some editing to do, folks. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!